The big spaceship Orion floated in the empty blackness of space. Captain Alan Rogers stood on the bridge, his back straight and his blue uniform neat. His eyes were fixed on the large screen in front of him. On the screen was another ship, but this one was not human. It was alien. The ship belonged to the Zerithians, the most powerful aliens in this part of space. The alien ship was smooth and shiny, with a blue glow that moved like waves across its surface. "They want to talk to us," said Lisa Grant. She sat at her station, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. Lisa was in charge of talking to other ships. "Let them talk," said Rogers. He fixed his uniform one more time. The screen changed. Now it showed a tall, thin alien. The alien had light blue skin and big eyes with many parts, like a bug's eyes. This was Ambassador Vikor of the Zerithians. "Captain Rogers of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was like music, but also like a machine. "We welcome you to our space. Our tools tell us your ship has weapons. This makes us worried." Rogers smiled in a friendly way. "We always carry weapons, Ambassador Vikor. We come in peace, but space can be dangerous." Vikor moved his long head to one side. "Yes, the Zerithian group has kept peace here for 10,000 cycles. We have studied your kind a lot before letting you come here. Humans are strange. Not very advanced, but strange." Something in the way the alien talked made Jack Warren feel uneasy. Warren was at the weapons station. He used to be a fighter in the Mars battles, and he knew when someone was looking down on him. "We want to learn from each other," Rogers said smoothly. "Earth is new to space travel, but we have our own good ideas." "Yes," Vikor said, his many-part eyes shining. "Your kind has a strange history of fighting. Most smart races stop fighting before they travel in space. Yet humans still carry weapons, still train for fights. Very odd." Warren caught Rogers' eye and shook his head a little. He had seen this before. Aliens thinking humans were not as good because they were new to space. The Zerithians did not understand that humans fighting past was not a bad thing. It was how they survived. "Maybe you would like to send some of your people to the Orion?" Rogers asked. "We have things to show you about our culture." Vikor was quiet for a moment. "Fine, get ready for 3 of our people. We want to understand your kind better." When the talk ended, Warren walked up to Rogers. "Sir, I don't like this. The way they look at us like we're animals, not friends." Rogers nodded slowly. "Keep safety steps working, but not too visible. Let's not make them think we really are the fighting humans they think we are." He turned to face his crew. "Everyone be on your best behavior. First meetings are important." They did not know that the Zerithians' first look at humanity was about to change in a big way. The meeting was going well in the Orion's main room. Patricia Collins, the science leader, was telling the Zerithian visitors about Earth's art and music. The aliens listened politely, but they clearly thought humans were simple. The tallest alien, Sub-Commander Tilak, stopped Collins in the middle of her talking. "Your works are simple, but we find it hard to match your art with how your bodies work." "I don't understand," Collins said carefully. "Your kind grew from hunters," Tilak said flatly. "Your eyes that face forward, your teeth, your need to protect your space, all signs of a hunter species. Our group marked humans as possible dangers as soon as we found you." Captain Rogers, who was listening nearby, stepped forward. "We have grown beyond our simple beginnings, just as I'm sure your kind has." The third Zerithian, a body expert named Ziran, made a noise that might have been a laugh. "The Zerithians grew as thinking helpers. We never had to become killers. It's in your very body. Your eyes get bigger when you're excited or hunting. A hunter changed for better seeing when chasing food." Warren, standing guard by the door, noticed the change in feeling. The aliens weren't just being curious, they were looking for weak spots. The tense talk might have gone on if not for what happened next. Olivia Chen, carrying a tray of drinks, tripped a little. The tray tilted and a glass broke on the floor. Chen got down quickly to clean up the mess, cutting her hand on a piece of glass. "I'm so sorry," she said, blood coming from the cut. The aliens reacted right away and strongly. The 3 Zerithians jumped back, their body movements changing from confident to scared in a second. their eyes fixed on Chen's bleeding hand, then jumped to the faces of the humans in the room. Warren, trained to notice small things, saw what had scared them. Every human nearby had automatically responded to the smell of blood. Their eyes had gotten slightly bigger, a response that came from millions of years of growth. "Medical team to the meeting room," Rogers called calmly, but his eyes never left the Zerithians, who were now backing toward the door. You all responded to the blood," Tilak whispered, his earlier confidence gone. "Your eyes, all of you, at the same time." Warren stepped forward on purpose, putting himself between the aliens and the door. "Is there a problem, Sub-Commander?" The Zerithians moved closer together, their earlier feeling of being better completely gone. "We want to go back to our ship right now," Tilak demanded, his voice higher than before. As the medical team came to help Chen's small cut, Rogers noticed the barely hidden fear in the aliens' posture. Something about humanity's natural response to blood had deeply upset them. "Of course," Rogers agreed smoothly. "Lieutenant Warren will take you back to the launch area." As Warren led the visibly shaken aliens away, Collins moved closer to Rogers. "What just happened?" Rogers watched the leaving aliens thoughtfully. "I think we just learned something important about the Zerithians, and they learned something about us that scared them very much." Captain Rogers called a meeting as soon as the alien guests left. He, Warren, Collins, and Dr. Kevin Boyd sat in the small meeting room off the bridge. The room was plain, just a table and chairs. The ship hummed softly around them. "They were scared of us," Warren said. He leaned forward in his chair. "Not just worried, really scared." "Because of how our eyes reacted to blood?" asked Dr. Boyd. He was the top doctor on the ship. He was short with kind eyes and steady hands. "That seems like a big reaction for such a small thing." Collins tapped on her datapad. "I've been looking at the data we have on Zerithian bodies. It might explain things. They come from plant eaters, not meat eaters like us." "So?" Warren asked. "So they never evolved as hunters," Collins said. "Their eyes don't change like ours do. They don't have the same fight responses we do. When they saw all our eyes get bigger at the same time when we smelled blood, it was like showing them we're all secret killers." The room was quiet as they thought about this. "The ship must be on high alert," Rogers said at last. "The Zerithians have asked us to leave their space within 2 days. They called us too different to work with." "After one small cut?" Dr. Boyd shook his head. "That's an overreaction." Rogers looked at Collins. "What do we know about Zerithian history? Have they fought wars like we have?" Collins checked her pad again. "That's the odd part. I can't find any record of them fighting wars. Not one. They solve all problems by talking. Even when they've met other aliens who were more aggressive, they just made deals or stayed away from them. They've never had to fight," Warren said slowly. "They don't understand what it means to be ready to fight to protect others, and they're scared of us because we do," Rogers finished. "They think our readiness to fight means we will fight. They don't understand the difference between can and will." The ship's speakers came on. "Captain," said Lisa Grant's voice, "the Zerithian ship is sending an emergency call. They're having some kind of power problem." Rogers stood up. "Put it through." The screen on the wall lit up. Ambassador Vicor's face appeared. He looked stressed, his blue skin paler than before. "Captain Rogers," the alien said, "our main power system is failing. We have started to move our people to escape ships, but our engineers say the power system will explode in about 40 of your Earth minutes. Our other ships cannot get here in time." "We can help," Rogers said right away. "The Orion can reach you in 20 minutes at top speed." Vicor blinked many times quickly. "Captain Rogers, you misunderstand. We are not asking for help. We are just telling you so your ship can stay safe from the radiation when ours explodes." Rogers looked at Warren, then back at the screen. "Ambassador, we can help. My engineers know about power systems like yours. That would mean your people would have to come onto our ship," Vicor said, clearly upset by the idea, after seeing how humans react to certain things. "Our leaders have said direct contact is too risky. Rogers leaned closer to the screen. Ambassador, I understand your worry, but we're talking about lives. My crew will follow any rules your people set. After a moment of clear inner struggle, Vakor answered, We accept your help, Captain Rogers, but we ask that you bring only the people you really need. Understood? Orion out. Rogers turned to his officers. Warren, Collins, Boyd, come with me. Tell the top engineering team to meet us at Shuttle Bay 2. We leave in 5 minutes. As they hurried through the hallways, Dr. Boyd said what they were all thinking. They'd rather die than have humans on their ship. That's quite a statement. Then we'll just have to show them they're wrong about us, Rogers said firmly. The trip to the Zerithian ship was tense. When they arrived and the door opened, they saw Sub-Commander Talak waiting for them. He stepped back when he saw the humans in their safety gear. The power core room is this way, Talak said stiffly. Our remaining engineers will help you. The situation in the core room was bad. Zerithian engineers worked fast at control stations, while warning lights flashed everywhere. Chief Engineer Diane Foster started looking at the systems right away. The field holding the power is falling apart, she reported. We need to redirect power and fix the reaction by hand. That would mean someone has to go into the radiation room, Talak pointed out. The radiation levels are already too high for Zerithians to survive. Foster checked her readings. Humans can stand it for a short time with protection. I'll go. No, Rogers said. I'll do it. As Rogers put on the protective suit, he noticed the Zerithians watching with a mix of fear and interest. Their earlier feeling of being better than humans was completely gone. The next 20 minutes were a blur of activity. Rogers, working inside the radiation room, followed Foster's instructions to fix the reaction, while Warren and Collins helped the Zerithian engineers with the control systems. Dr. Boyd treated several hurt aliens, his gentle way slowly breaking through their fear. When the power core finally stabilized, Rogers came out of the radiation room tired but successful. The Zerithians kept their distance, but their body language had changed a little. Your ship is safe, Ambassador, Rogers told Vakor, who had joined them in the engineering section. The core will need repairs, but the immediate danger is gone. Vakor looked at Rogers for a long moment. You risked your life for our people even after we judged your kind. Rogers smiled tiredly. That's what humans do, Ambassador. We protect. Yes, we evolved as hunters, but we also evolved to defend those we care about. A strange mix, Vakor said, his tone thoughtful rather than dismissive. Perhaps our group has been too quick to judge humanity. As the human team got ready to return to the Orion, Warren noticed several younger Zerithians watching them with what looked like curiosity rather than fear. I think we've given them something to think about, he said quietly to Collins. She nodded. Sometimes you have to show rather than tell. 3 days after saving the Zerithian ship, the Orion stayed at the edge of Zerithian space. Captain Rogers thought they would be told to leave right away, so when Ambassador Vakor asked for a meeting, everyone was surprised. The Orion crew set up the meeting room. This time they made sure there would be no accidents, no drinks in glass cups, no sharp objects, nothing that could cause bleeding. Do you think they'll talk to us this time? Warren asked. He stood by the door watching the empty hall. They asked for this meeting, Collins said. That's a good sign. Rogers looked calm, but his eyes were alert. They could just want to tell us to our faces that we need to leave. The Zerithians arrived in a small group. Ambassador Vakor led them with Sub-Commander Talak close behind. There were also 2 new Zerithians that the Orion crew hadn't met before. One looked older with darker blue skin. The other was clearly younger with bright, curious eyes. Captain Rogers, Vakor said when they were all seated. I bring greetings from the Zerithian High Council. Ambassador Vakor, Rogers nodded. We're glad to see you well. Our ship is fully fixed thanks to your help, Vakor said. The alien's voice was still formal, but not as cold as before. Our council has been talking about your species, Ren, and Collins shared a quick look. This could go either way. The High Council has decided that our first judgment of humans was too quick, Vakor continued. Yes, you have traits that we find strange, but you also showed traits we did not expect. Like what? Rogers asked. Sacrifice. The older Zerithian spoke for the first time. I am Elder Kavan of the Science Guild. Our records show that your species evolved as hunters, but hunters do not usually risk themselves for others outside their group. Humans are complicated, Dr. Boyd said with a small smile. We can be both hunters and helpers. This is what we want to understand, Vakor said. How can a predator species develop such a strong drive to protect? Collins leaned forward. We think it comes from our social nature. Humans evolved to live in groups, to protect our young and each other. Those protective instincts are actually stronger than our hunting instincts in many ways. But your eyes still change when you smell blood, Talak pointed out. He seemed less scared than before, but still wary. That's just old body programming, Boyd explained. We can't help how our bodies react, but we can choose what we do with those reactions. The young Zerithian spoke up. When your captain went into the radiation room to save our ship, his eyes were also wide. Not from blood, but from danger. Yet he went anyway. Rogers looked at the young alien with interest. What is your name? I am Maral, learning student of culture studies, the young Zerithian said. I asked to come to this meeting. I want to understand humans better. And why is that? Rogers asked. Morel seemed to stand taller. Because our history shows that the Zerithian collective grew for 10,000 cycles without meeting real challenges. We solved all problems by talking or by walking away. But the universe is getting smaller as more species travel in space. We cannot always walk away now. The older Zerithian, Kavan, made a small noise of disapproval, but didn't stop Morale. Your people have something we do not, Morale continued. The will to face danger, the drive to protect. These might be things our people need to learn. Vakor raised a long-fingered hand. Morale speaks only for himself, not for the collective. But his view is not without support among some of us. Rogers nodded slowly. So what does this mean? For relations between our peoples? The High Council proposes a limited agreement, Vakor said. Not full friendship yet, but the start of working together. We would like to have some Zerithians travel on your ships to learn more about humans. And, in return? Warren asked. In return, we will share our star maps and some of our science with Earth, Vakor said. We have collected knowledge for thousands of cycles that could help your people. Rogers looked at his team. Collins nodded right away. Boyd looked thoughtful, but then nodded too. Warren was last, but he also agreed. We accept, Rogers said, but I have one condition too. What is that? Vakor asked, his many-part eyes fixed on Rogers. That Morale here is one of the Zerithians who comes to our ship, Rogers said. We need people who want to understand us, not just study us. Morale's eyes widened with what looked like happiness. Vakor and Kavan talked quietly to each other in their own language for a moment. Agreed, Vakor said at last. Morale will join your crew as our first, what is your word, exchange student? Rogers smiled. That works. Welcome aboard, Morale. As the meeting ended, Warren walked with Collins back toward the shuttle. Do you think it will work? He asked quietly. Having a Zerithian on our ship, it will be strange at first, Collins said, but Morale seems different from the others, more open to new ideas. He'll still jump every time someone gets a paper cut, Warren said with a small laugh. Maybe, Collins agreed, but maybe he'll also learn that the same eyes that widen at the smell of blood can also widen at the sight of new stars, or at the sound of music, or when we see someone we care about. As they waited for the others to join them, they watched, Morale talking excitedly with Rogers. The young Zerithian moved his hands as he spoke, pointing at the stars outside the window. You know, Warren said, I think humans might learn something from them too. Like what? Collins asked. Like how to see ourselves through others' eyes, Warren said. Sometimes it takes a scared alien to show us who we really are. The shuttle door closed, and they started their journey back to the Orion. Neither species fully trusted the other yet. Both still had fears and doubts, But it was a start. A small bridge across a gap that once seemed too wide to cross. 1 month had passed since Morale joined the crew of the Orion. The young Zerithian followed a careful routine each day. He would study human history in the morning, watch the crew work in the afternoon, and write long reports to send back to his people each night. At first, the crew was careful around him. They spoke softly. They moved slowly. They tried not to show strong feelings. But over time, both sides grew more comfortable. Today, Morale sat in the ship's mess hall, watching humans eat lunch. He did not eat human food. His own meals came from special packs from his home world. But he liked to watch the humans eat and talk. Captain Rogers came in and sat across from the alien. "How are your studies going, Morale?" "Good, Captain," Morale said. His speech was better now after weeks of practice. "I am learning much about humans. Some things still confuse me." "Like what?" Rogers asked. He took a bite of his sandwich. "Like how you can switch so fast between calm and ready to fight," Morale said. "Yesterday I watched Lieutenant Warren playing a game with Ensign Chen. They were laughing. Then the alarm for drill practice sounded, and in less than 5 seconds they were both running to their posts. Their faces changed completely." Rogers nodded. "That's how we're built. We can change modes quickly when needed." "My people cannot do this," Morale said. "We stay the same most of the time. To change our thinking takes much effort and time." The ship's speakers came on. "Captain to the bridge," Lisa Grant's voice said. "We are getting a distress call." Rogers stood up at once. "Come with me, Morale. This might be interesting for your studies." On the bridge, the crew worked at their stations. The main screen showed a small ship floating in space. The ship looked damaged, with dark marks on one side. "Report," Rogers said as he took his seat. "It's a small trading ship from the Voltar system," Warren said from his station. "They say they hit a space rock field and their engines are damaged. They're asking for help." "The Voltars," Morale said quietly to Rogers. "They are known to my people. They are not always honest in their dealings." Rogers looked at Morale with interest. "You think this might be a trap?" Morale's many-faceted eyes blinked rapidly. "I do not know, but the Voltar ships have good sensors. They should not hit rocks by accident." Rogers thought for a moment. "Warren, full scan of that ship and the space around it." Warren worked at his controls. "Captain, there's something odd. The damage to their ship doesn't match with rock hits. It looks more like weapon marks. And there's a strange energy reading behind that small moon." "Another ship hiding?" Rogers asked. "Maybe," Warren said. "It's hard to tell from here." Rogers stood up. "Yellow alert. Shields up. Prepare to help the Voltar ship, but be ready for trouble. Warren, keep watching that moon." Morale watched as the crew went from relaxed to alert in seconds. Their movements became faster, more focused. Even their breathing changed. The Orion moved closer to the damaged ship. As they got near, Warren suddenly called out, "Captain, ship coming out from behind." "The moon! They're powering weapons! Red alert!" Rogers ordered. "All stations, battle ready!" The second ship fired at the Orion. The shields flashed as they took the hit. "Return fire," Rogers said calmly. "Target their weapons only." The Orion fired back. The enemy ship took the hit, but kept coming. "The first ship is powering up too," Warren reported. "They were playing dead. It's a trap." Rogers turned to Morale. "Any ideas about who these Voltars might be working with?" Morale's long fingers moved quickly over a small device he carried. "The ship design suggests they might be with the Kargan Raiders. They attack trade ships in this sector." "Why would they attack us?" Collins asked from her station. "We're not a trade ship. The Zerithian technology we're carrying would be valuable," Morale said. "And perhaps they heard that the Orion helped the Zerithians. Maybe they think we are weak because we help others." Warren laughed. It was a short, hard sound. "They're about to learn differently." The two enemy ships fired together. The Orion shook, but the shields held. "Target their engine sections," Rogers ordered. "Fire when ready." The Orion's weapons hit both ships. The smaller one spun away, clearly damaged. The larger one kept fighting. They're trying to get close enough to board us, Warren warned. Rogers looked at the screen. His eyes narrowed. Not going to happen. Prepare the pulse cannon. That will drain our shields, Collins warned. For a few seconds only, Rogers said. Do it. The Orion fired a wide blue beam that hit the larger ship. All its lights went out. Direct hit, Warren reported. Their power is down. The smaller ship turned and started to move away fast. Let them go, Rogers said. They can tell others what happens when you attack the Orion. Morale had watched the whole fight with wide eyes. He had pressed himself against the wall when the shooting started, but now he stepped forward. Captain, he said, his voice shaking a little. I have never seen a space battle before. My people would have tried to run or talk. Rogers looked at the young alien. Sometimes talking doesn't work, Morale. Sometimes you have to fight to protect what matters. What I noticed, Morale said slowly, was that no one was scared. You were all ready, like you had done this many times. We train for it, Warren said. We hope for peace but prepare for trouble. Morale was quiet for a moment, then he said, When the fighting started, I saw it again. All your eyes got wider, like when you smelled blood that first day. But this time I understood. It was not because you wanted to hurt. It was because you were ready to protect. Collins smiled at the alien. That's right. The same body responses that our ancestors used for hunting, we now use for defense. I will put this in my report, Morale said. My people need to understand this about humans. You are not dangerous because you can fight. You are valuable allies because you will fight when it's needed. As the crew worked to check for damage and restart normal operations, Morale stayed on the bridge watching. He was seeing humans with new eyes now. Not as scary predators, but as protectors. The eyes that widened at blood and danger were the same eyes that watched the stars with wonder and looked at friends with care. The gap between their species was still there, but the bridge across it grew stronger every day. 6 months had passed since Morale first came aboard the Orion. In that time, 5 more Zerithians had joined the crew. They worked in different areas of the ship, learning about humans. The humans, too, learned from the Zerithians. Today was a big day. The Orion was heading to the Zerithian homeworld. This would be the first human ship ever to visit the planet. Captain Rogers stood on the bridge watching the blue-green world grow larger on the main screen. Nervous, Captain? Warren asked. He stood at his station checking the ship's systems one last time. A little, Rogers admitted. We've come a long way since our first meeting, but this is still a big step. Morale came onto the bridge. He looked different now. He stood taller. He moved with more confidence. He even wore a modified version of the Orion's uniform, though in Zerithian blue instead of human navy. Captain, Morale said, the High Council is ready to receive us. They will meet us at the main landing area. Thank you, Morale, Rogers said. Is there anything special we should know about the meeting? Just be yourselves, Morale said. He made a sound that was almost like a human laugh. That is what they need to see. The Orion landed smoothly on the Zerithian world. Rogers, Warren, Collins, and Boyd stepped out. The air was warm and smelled like sweet flowers. The landing area was huge, with tall white buildings all around. Hundreds of Zerithians stood watching, from a safe distance. A group of older Zerithians waited at the bottom of the ramp. Ambassador Vikor was there, along with Elder Kavan and 3 others in elaborate blue robes. Captain Rogers, Vikor said in greeting. Welcome to Zerith Prime. Ambassador Vikor, Rogers replied with a small bow. Thank you for having us. The Zerithian crowd watched quietly. Many of them had never seen humans before. They stared at the strange aliens with their flat faces, small eyes, and strong bodies. The High Council wishes to speak with you, Vikor said. Please follow me. They walked to a large round building in the center of the landing area. Inside, it was cool and calm. The walls were a soft blue color that seemed to glow. In the middle of the room was a round table with seats for everyone. Please sit, said the oldest Zerithian. His skin was a deep blue, almost purple. I am High Elder Jatal, leader of the Zerithian Collective. We have heard much about humans from our people who have lived on your ship. I hope they had good things to say, Rogers replied with a smile. They had many things to say, Jital said. Some good, some concerning, all interesting. Morale stepped forward. Hi, Elder, I have spent the most time with humans. With your permission, I would like to share what I have learned. Jital nodded. Speak, Morale. Morale looked at the humans, then back at his people. When I first met humans, I saw only what made us different. Their eyes that change at the scent of blood, their quick shifts from calm to alert, their readiness to fight. These things scared me, as they scare many of us. The Zerithian leaders nodded. These were the things that had worried them from the start. But, Morale continued, I have learned that these same traits that make humans seem dangerous also make them the best protectors I have ever seen. Yes, their eyes widen at the smell of blood, but they also widen at the sight of beauty, at the sound of music, at the idea of helping others. The room was very quiet as Morale spoke. In the 6 months I have lived among humans, I have seen them face danger without fear. I have seen them risk themselves for each other and for me, an alien who once feared them. I have seen them solve problems that would take our people years to talk through. Morale turned to look at Rogers. Humans are not like us. They never will be. But that is exactly why we need them. The universe is changing. New dangers are coming. The Zerithian way of talking and avoiding conflict has worked for 10,000 cycles. But it may not work for the next 10,000. High Elder Jital seemed to think about this. What do you suggest, Morale? A full alliance with Earth, Morale said firmly. Not just learning from each other, but working together. Humans can protect. Zerithians can build and plan. Together, we would be stronger than either is alone. Jital turned to Rogers. And what do you say, Captain? Do you seek an alliance with our people? Rogers looked at each of his crew members before answering. Elder Jital, humans have always looked to the stars with hope. We want to learn, to grow, to explore. But we also know the universe can be a dangerous place. We've seen that even in the short time we've been out here. He leaned forward. Yes, we can fight when needed. But we'd rather build than destroy. We'd rather make friends than find enemies. An alliance between our peoples would make both of us better. The Zerithian leaders talked among themselves in quiet voices. Finally, Jital spoke again. For 10,000 cycles, the Zerithian collective has lived in peace. We have avoided species that seemed too aggressive or too different from us. That has been our way. But perhaps, as Morale says, times are changing. The old Zerithian stood up. Captain Rogers, the High Council agrees to a formal alliance between our peoples. There will be much to work out, many details to settle, but today marks the beginning of a new path for both our kinds. As the meeting ended and they walked back into the sunlight, Warren moved close to Morale. You spoke well in there, he said. You've changed a lot since you first came aboard the Orion. Morale looked at the human. So have you, Lieutenant Warren. I remember how you watched me when I first arrived. You didn't trust me. I didn't understand you, Warren corrected. There's a difference. Collins joined them. That's what this has all been about, hasn't it? Understanding each other despite our differences. Outside, the Zerithian crowd had grown larger. They still kept their distance, but they watched the humans with more curiosity than fear now. It will take time, Morale said, looking at his people. Many still fear what humans represent. The predator's gaze, the quick switch to fighting, the eyes that dilate at the scent of blood. And many humans will find Zerithians too slow, too careful, too unwilling to take risks, Rogers added. But that's okay. We don't need to be the same to work together. As they walked back to the Orion in the warm Zerithian sun, Rogers smiled at the thought of what lay ahead. Two species, so different in their past, now linked in their future. The hunters and the herd, finding strength in their differences. The bridge was built. The rest of the journey they would walk together,